All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're actually going to be mainly focusing on a topic. Today, I don't have a lot of gameplay lined up for us in today's video. I think some people have even been getting burned out on all the different gameplay stuff that I do. But the topic of the day has been doing very well. And of course, I think a lot of people still really like the VV Lab. So let me go ahead and break down today's video for you so we can, get straight into this. First things first, we will be heading over to the VV Lab. We're going to be checking out a game of Perona versus Doflamingo. That's right, guys. Green-black Perona versus Doffy. That should be very interesting. After that, we are going to head over to the topic of the day, which will be the bulk of today's video. Okay, so today will be more of like a theory crafting style video. I have not done one of those in a long time, but I've really enjoyed adding in this topic of the day so I can get back into that theory craft mode where I can really start, getting some ideas out there and see what people think. And I think they've been received really well because I've been getting some awesome comments and feedback on some of these ideas. So the topic of the day is going to be talking about block rotations. We'll talk about that when we get to it. I don't want to spoil that at all. That's going to be a very interesting topic. After that, we are going to head over. We do have one game of the leader you see on the screen here of Eustace Kid, Green Eustace Kid. This leader is one of the OG leaders all the way back from ST02, guys, the second starter deck that came out in the game. We're on ST20 now, guys, going into ST21. How crazy is that? But we'll check. We got one game of him on the sim today. We'll finish off by checking out the deck list, and we will wrap it up in that way. Okay, guys, I'll have everything time-stamped down in the general description. I'll have all relevant, links and deck lists down in the comment section below. And yeah, if you guys have any comments or questions or suggestions, please do not hesitate to put those down in the comment section below. Okay? All right, guys, let's get into this. I can't wait to talk about today's topic. Okay, I'm going to move the leader here. First up, we do have a game on the lab. For any of the new players out there, any of the new listeners, what is the lab? So at the beginning of each one of my videos, I try to have a segment that we call the VV Lab. And it is essentially a community-submitted game. Okay? It is a game that some random player in the community submitted, and they submit it so that I can review it on a actual video like what we're about to see here. And it acts as like pretty much a free miniature coaching session. So if you're interested in me reviewing one of your games, it is extremely easy to set up, guys. It's a 3-step process. Review your game, or excuse me, review it. Record your game. I'll review it. Don't worry about that part. So record your game, and then upload it to YouTube, and then hop on the VV Theory Discord. The VV Theory Discord. The link is in the channel description. Okay, hop on the Discord, and then on the Discord, there's a channel called Review My Game. As soon as I see it, I check like once or twice a day. As soon as I see it, guys, I give it a thumbs up emoji, and you get thrown in line. And whenever it's your turn, it's your turn. So really, really simple to to get set up on. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and dive into this game. If you need any help getting set up on that, please say something in the comment section or on the Discord. That's the best way to get help for setting something like that up. Now, let's get into this game. We have a game of green-black Perona versus blue Doflamingo. Let me make sure the volume is off and that the speed is on 2x. The quality is as high as it will go. And here we go, guys. Let's do this. So I really like the hand, first of all, that we see on the green-black Perona side. I like when Doffy is in the list, and I also like that we have X-Drake because it's going to be very good into matchups like what we see here with blue Doflamingo, being able to pop a 4-cost or lower character, right? Okay, so they tap down the Sengoku to start. So let me pause real quick because this is actually moving pretty quickly. I do have it in 2x speed. So to start the game off, the Perona went first. They're doing that so they can aggressively... Let me see if they chose to go first, actually. Let me check real quick, guys. We will go back for just a second here. Okay. Gotta go further back than that. Okay, so it looks like the opponent, the Doflamingo player, chose to go second. So, excuse me. The Perona did not choose to go first. Rather, the Doflamingo player chose to go second. Okay, and what happened? So, Perona, turn 1, pass. And then Doflamingo goes turn 1 pass after playing out a Sengoku, doing a top 5 search and grabbing a Jinbei. So we know a Jinbei is coming. However, Perona, I feel, is very strong into Doflamingo because essentially you can just tap down whatever 4-cost character they play every turn and just attack into it. Even if it survives, that's not really the biggest deal, right? If it survives, okay, you're getting cards out of hand and you're just going to keep battling for the board, and then you have other cards that can deal with it like X-Drake. Okay, also the Bonnie. Jewelry Bonnie is actually very solid as well, very strong. And choosing 5-cost characters in the deck, that is no accident, that is design, right? Because right now, Doflamingo has a way to push back 4-cost and lower characters very, very easily with a card called Trafalgar Law. It's a blue Trafalgar Law that came in ST, what was it, 15, 16, 17. Okay, all right, so let's see what happens here. All right, so the Perona is going to tap down the Sengoku, smash into it for 5, and that already slows them down enough, right? Because if you're attacking their 1-cost guys, now they're not pulling them back with cards from hand like the Trafalgar Law or Jozu. Okay, and then they're going to end up just passing the turn because they did not have a follow-up play. They had no 2 or 3 drop they could play. 5 on turn. This is excellent. So here we go. So they swung in for 5. We did counter out with a 2K counter. Not a big deal. We knew the Jinbei was coming. And now we can start attacking into it. Right here, interesting. Okay, so let me say this real quick. It looks like what they're going to do. Okay, so let's talk about this play. This is an extremely important turn right here. There are 3 options we have, guys. I don't know if you guys see it or not, but there are actually 3 very, very relevant options. Let me bust out the chess meter real quick. Like, there are 3 plays right here that are very, very relevant, and they would all fall under good, excellent, or best play. And if I were to try to rank them, hear me out, guys. The play that we're about to do right here is swing for 5, rest down the Edward Weevil, and pop it with X-Drake. I can almost guarantee, I can't prove, I haven't watched this game, guys, but if I had to guess what's about to happen, because they're swinging first, they don't care about any other option there. They just want to go face, tap down the biggest character, and pop it with an X-Drake and establish tempo in that way. That's the first option. The other option that we actually could have here is actually the same exact thing, but then resting down, using the Bonnie in hand to just keep it rested and move on from there. So that way they can't get it back from the trash with cards like Gecko Moria and things like that. But the third option, guys, hear me out on this, and it's probably the hardest one that I would consider I would consider it the, how do I say this? It's definitely the hardest one to pick up on, is I would actually be resting the Jinbei and swinging 5 into Jinbei. They're probably going to let it go, right? And that's fine. That's actually perfect because then we get to establish a blocker in the 5-cost 6K Sabo, and drawing 2 and trashing 2 and getting ready for next turn. And they can't KO the character, right? And they can't bounce it either because it's a 5-cost character. Unless they have Jozu on curve, but if they have Jozu on curve, they have to return a character anyway, and now we're just fine. And please, hey, bounce back my Sabo, right? I'll draw 2, trash 2 again next turn if I have to. Now, again, I think what is about to happen here is they're going to swing for 5, rest the Weevil, pop it with X-Drake, which is a great play. That is not a bad play. Please don't misunderstand. If that is what they do, I think that's the most obvious play. Okay, let me say that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best play. Okay, and that's one of the main reasons we do these VV labs, is we're trying to break down certain turns that could be changing, like could be points in the game that go, you know, for the better or for the worse, right? Like potential break points in the game where it's like, wait a minute, if I do this, it could be even better. So hear me out. One more time. This is what I would do personally here, is I would rest the Jinbei, swing 5 into Jinbei. If he counters out, perfect, then I'm going to pop it with X-Drake. If he lets it go, now I have 2 options, right? I can play out the Sabo to establish a blocker, draw 2, trash 2, or I could play out the Jewelry Bonnie and keep one of their Dawn rested. And now they're on a 5 Dawn turn like I was just at, and they can't even play the Jozu on tempo. So those were the other 2 major, interesting other options that you had there. So let's see what happens. Again, I don't know what happens here. I've not seen this game. Going to swing for 5, okay. They're going to take it, which is actually very interesting. Rest down the Weevil and pop it with X-Drake. Again, a good play, but there might have been a better play there, because notice what happened. Pause real quick. They got to draw a card, right? When we swung for 5, what did that actually do? When we swung for 5, they got to draw a card, okay? Yes, we did remove a character from the board, but hear me out. If we did the play that I was just saying where we rest down the Jinbei and swing for 5 into it, they have to now give us a card from hand. Not draw a card from life, but give us a card from hand. And then they're still going to lose the character in the end because we're going to play out the X-Drake regardless. And the difference between a 5,000 power character and a 6,000 power character is not super relevant in this specific situation. You know what I mean? Because we can pop it the following turn just by attacking into it with our new 6K body if we need to. So I think that is something to really consider when it comes to long-term value. Do we have to attack their life right now? because I actually don't want to attack their life until I have a good enough board state so that I can just keep attacking the board and getting the most value from what's already been established. Because these characters on the board, yes, they've already done value. They've already created value. But now every turn they get to attack is more and more value, right, at each turn. So we really want to try and, attack into the board as much as possible, at least in my personal opinion, with my play style. Everyone else, everyone has a different play style. Okay, now, here we go. They're going to play out the Perona here. They have 4 Dawn left. It looks like they're probably going to do another, either another Jinbei play or maybe play something from the top and swing that way. By the way, the Sengoku did search up a Boa Hancock. Okay, they're going to swing for 5. Looks like they might go Jinbei plus Boa here if I had to guess. We're going to take that one. Very good. Okay, just Weevil. Very nice, guys. That was definitely not the worst case scenario. Okay, swing for 6 into 5. I love this. Man, maybe 7 would have been better since we only have 7 Dawn for the turn. Swing, okay, then we do 7 into 5. Interesting. Tap that down. Keep it locked. Love it. Absolutely love the Joribani here, guys. Absolutely love it. Yeah, Joribani seems very nice, guys, because if they want to use out of Jozu to bounce back these cards, well, yeah, please bounce back my X-Drake or my Bonnie or my Sabo, right? I'll take every one of those back to my hand, please. So they're going to swing in for 9. That's a big hit. I think we should just take this. Absolutely. I don't think we could have countered out. Nice. Another 5-cost character. Pretty strong, guys. Pretty strong. This card called Carrot. And we're running the Rosinante. Man, this is a spicy deck right here. Okay, a little bit greedy there. Hear me out for a second. I would go 6s into the 5 first. Gecko Moria is actually an incredible target for us to attack into because they can't pull that back from their trash. Gecko Moria can get any of these cards back from the trash for the most part, right? Most of the cards. But it can't pull itself out of the trash. Okay, so that's something to really consider when you're attacking into the board here. And on top of that, I would swing 5 into the Gecko first and then 6s into the Gecko to try and get as many cards out of their hand, especially high-quality cards like 2K counters. But going 6 into 6 is fine as well. Okay, here we go. They do let it go. Very nice. That's really good. Now we can swing 6 into 5. I love it. Yep, absolutely. That's my play every time here. They're going to have to counter out because they're losing their board. Play out the Rosinante, playing out the Carrot. Guys, this list is spicy. Really, really liking this deck list so far. Okay, we'll have to ask down in the comment sections below if this person wants to share their deck list or not. Okay, so the Doffy player does play out a Jinbei into Gecko Moria combo, getting back the Edward Weevil. This game's not over, guys. This game is not over at all. Swinging in for 8. Okay. Well, it looks like it locked out for a second there. Swinging 7 into 5 now. Let's see what happens. Yeah, we have to counter out of this. We're getting too low. A Perfume Femur can end us right here, guys. Okay, 5. Rest that down. That's so nice. Again, I would probably... Well, I guess unless they have Trafalgar Law in hand, I think it's actually better to rest down the Gecko Moria and try to deal with that. So 6 into 5. Are we trying to go for lethal here? Let's see what happens. Okay. I don't think so. We're going to try and lock this board down. So that's why I would swing into some of the characters on the board here. So pause real quick, guys. Notice what we have in hand. We have a Doflamingo, a 10-cost Doffy. We are trying to lock this board down and go for lethal next turn. I 100% agree with that, but let's make sure we have the characters that are gone that we need gone, right? So in other words, I would swing 5 into the... I would swing 6 into the Gecko, 6 into the Gecko until it's gone. The one Gecko, locking down 4 characters this turn. 1 with Carrot, like they've done. They lock down the Boa with Carrot, and then when we play out the Doflamingo, that's going to lock the remaining 2 characters and leader out of the game, and then we can finish up next turn. Okay, going for face, though. This is also very, very strong play here. They have to give us 2K counters now. Absolutely. Swinging for 6. They're down to 5 cards in hand. This is working out very well for us. Nice. Another 2K counter. Keeps locking up, guys. I'm not sure what's going on there. And the quality went all the way down. Let me check something real quick. It went to auto. Let me go up to 1080. There we go. I'm not sure why it did that, guys. That was weird, but that was YouTube, not me. Okay, so lock everything down. Absolutely beautiful. They get 1 attack this turn, and look at our board. And we actually don't have much counter power in hand, but that's okay. Are they going to dedicate their entire singular attack this turn into KOing one of our guys, or are they going to go for face? They're going to go for face, I bet, guys. They're trying to set up a Perfume Femur. We have to take it. We don't have a choice. They're setting up a Perfume Femur for this next turn, guys. I can almost guarantee you that. So I think we pretty much have to go for lethal. It is loading, guys. I'm not sure what's going on here. There we go. Okay. Again, YouTube's acting weird today, guys. It's acting funny. So I think we have to go for lethal, and we have lethal easily, I think, because we can swing 7, 7, 7, 7, 9, 11. You know, it's just insane numbers. Swinging for 8's even better. Yeah, I didn't do the actual math on it. Swing 8, swing 8, swing 8, swing 8, swing 10. Right? That's just going to be insane. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, the Doflamingo player's doing a little bit of math right now. Like, yeah, I'm in trouble. Because remember, they aggressively counted out last turn down to 3 cards in hand after they played out the Weevil plus Jinbei. Okay, something just, I don't know if it's the recording or what, guys, but it kind of is jumping around a little bit. They took that hit, swinging for 8. I would have capped that off at 9, personally, or I would have gone 7, 9, 11 here. Okay? This is so frustrating how it's doing this, guys. Y'all bear with me. Okay. Gonna swing. I'm pretty sure this is the game, though, which is the good news. I don't know why it's acting this way. All of those are 1Ks. Yep, just going with a 7K here or 8. That's fine. And then there's no way they're getting out of 14 on this next hit. Okay, so they just showed us all those 1Ks. Yeah, they don't have it. Swing for 10. That's going to be game. And then we can swing for 9 with the leader. GG. That was a very good game. Again, really big fan of this version of the list. I like how it's actually going more into the 5-cost range. And it's got Kuzans, brand news, very interesting. But this list looks like it's actually catered to go against Blue Doflamingo. Really good stuff there. Okay, awesome game. And again, the one turn I do want to draw attention to, guys, and this is what shows when a deck is made well, when the deck itself is made well, when you have all of these options. Because again, guys, remember what we did here. We swing for 5, then we tap down the Jinbei. The other option we had here was just to go into the board and just get board control early and get cards out of their hand early, take options out of their hands. We want to take as many options out of their hand as possible while establishing the board and going for game on later turns when we have a better board state. But this was played brilliantly. It was not a play mistake trying it this way. This was just another option. Okay, really good stuff. Awesome. All right, let's get set up, guys. We got a lot to talk about. Y'all give me just a moment to get set up here. We got a lot to talk about for the topic of the day. Okay. Got to move my camera down to here. This is a topic that is very, very polarizing. The idea of block rotations. So what are those? Don't worry, guys. We're going to go over that. But first, let me go ahead and show you guys something real quick here. I'm going to link this in the comment section below. Over at Millennium Games, there's a YouTuber called Millennium Games, and I think this is a shop owner out of New York. I believe they're somewhere in New York, in the Rochester, New York area, I believe. But anyway, this guy just recently, as in, let me pull this back up so it says it. So literally just one day ago, at the time they were recording this and putting it out, this guy came out with a wild year for TCG's Game Retail Ramblings, episode 28, all that good stuff, talking about how things are selling in his shop. So real quick, let's go over this, and then we will segue that into the topic of the day. So the topic of the day is, will there be block rotations in the future of, I should say in the future of One Piece TCG? And we're going to talk about that. But real quick, up front first here, check this out, guys. Very interesting information. And this is just from a single store, okay? This is not worldwide rankings or something like this. This is just what this shop owner wanted to report on for how he's doing right now as far as sales go for the games you see on the screen here. So right now he is saying that Magic, and again, guys, I will link it in the comment section below. Please go check it out and listen to it for yourself. It is a 30-minute video, but just put it on 2x speed and just watch it all the way through, guys. And there's some pretty interesting information there, especially if you're in the New York area where it's from. So S tier, top tier right now for this person with sales is Magic the Gathering. I don't think that's hard to believe. And guys, while we're going through this list, I want you guys to tell me, do you guys think this is about the same in the area you live? Or is there a certain game in the area where you live that is probably way different from this? You guys tell me in the comment section below. But they've got Magic at S tier, Pokemon directly under that in a tier. Like these guys are in a tier of their own, as in they have the most sales probably by far. But then check this out, guys. One tier down, the next highest selling game at this individual store was One Piece the trading card game, One Piece TCG. We love to see that, right, guys? We love to see that over here. I think the game's incredible, and I think it's going to have a very bright future. So kind of, again, we'll talk about the future of it in just a second when we get more directly into the topic of the day. After that, they have Lorcana, then Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the most interesting thing to me. And I understand that there are a lot of really hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh! Players out there, just like there's a lot of really hardcore Flesh and Blood players out there. We'll talk about that in a second. The problem is this, I think. When it comes to store sales, if you only have old school players who are still playing the game and they're incredible, they put time into it, they're dedicated, right? They're like zealous about their game. There's nothing wrong with that, right? However, when it comes to driving sales, if you're not inviting new players into the game, you're going to see stagnation. You're going to see things will begin to stagnate or they'll become stagnant because what's happening is no new players are coming in to buy more cards. And guess what? The veteran players very rarely have to buy new cards, and if they do, it'll probably, let's just be honest, guys, it'll probably be from like TCG player or whatever the equivalent is in the area you live. You know, whether it be card market from Europe or TCG player from North America, you name it, right? It's kind of already taken care of in that way. So a lot of the sales that go across the counter, who's buying that? And yes, of course, some of us are still, obviously. I'm not saying we aren't. I buy stuff across the counter as well. But the new players coming in and having to buy up some of the older product on the shelves is typically a very big deal, and it's very important to a game's future health. And that only comes by inviting new players into the game. If new players don't feel welcome to get into the game, that can contribute problems to the long-term health, the future growth of the game. And I think we're starting to see that with Yu-Gi-Oh! And I know some people are going to say, hey, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Just had some massive events. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is dying off or anything like that. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. But Yu-Gi-Oh! In particular, I do not think they're as good as, let's say, Pokemon or Magic the Gathering is when it comes to inviting new players into the game. And I think it has a lot to do with formatting and something we're going to talk about today with block rotations. Now, One Piece and Lorcana, they are up there. They're way up there in the sales department right now, guys. They're flying off the shelves. Their future looks promising. Let's see how the parent companies of each can keep the game, you know, flourishing and nourish it so that it can grow into maybe one of these top 3 games in the future, right? Now, with One Piece and Lorcana, because they're so young, we don't have any issues like attracting new players because these are kind of the new kids on the block. If you look at all the games on here, there's only a few games that I'm aware of that are newer than Lorcana and One Piece. I think one would be Altered, Grand Archive. Grand Archive came out very similar times to Lorcana and One Piece. They all kind of came out around the same time. It was kind of this new, like, trio of TCGs that were coming out around the same time of One Piece, Lorcana, and Grand Archive. It was like, let's see how this goes, right? It was actually very exciting to watch while I was getting back into TCGs. Star Wars is interesting. I can't talk too much about that. I'm not interested in a Star Wars TCG. That's just me personally. I don't have anything against Star Wars, the franchise. I loved Star Wars growing up. I won't talk about the direction that I went later, but the first 6 that came out, well, I should say the first 3 that came out, 4, 5, and 6, and then the next 3 that came out, 1, 2, and 3. I know that's kind of confusing. That's just the order it came out chronologically in the films. They were incredible. They were like life changing, right? It was like a cultural phenomenon. But I never really was interested in a TCG form of that for some reason. I don't know. Maybe in the future I'll try it, but I can't speak much on that. Now let's go to the C tier. This is very interesting to me, the C tier. Digimon, the card game, they have a C tier, and that one's actually the least surprising. The rest is what's really surprising. Look at where Altered is on here. I know you can barely see it because it's actually like a PNG with a transparency for the background, but Altered is in between Digimon and Flesh and Blood right here, guys. In case you can't see it, it's right here. And that is a new game, I think, that is based around a digital form of play, where I think the games, someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm never trying to mislead anyone or give false information, but I believe Altered is based around a scan, like a CR code, I think they're called, some kind of code, where you can scan cards into an online database, and now they're part of your collection. So it's interesting. I do want to monitor and follow this game a little bit with Altered. I think it's very interesting. Now, Flesh and Blood is down here in the C tier, and I'm actually surprised it is there. But again, I think that is from the diehard Flesh and Blood fans, similar to how Yu-Gi-Oh! Has like their diehard fans. I think Flesh and Blood is the same way. Because while Flesh and Blood, while Flesh and Blood is doing very well on a tournament scene, like with the big, regionals, nationals, worlds level events, like the very large scale competitive events, I think it's doing very well. But as far as like locally goes, again, I think it's facing a very similar issue to Yu-Gi-Oh! I almost said issue. A Yu-Gi-Oh! issue is an issue from now on, I guess. No, but seriously, guys, I don't know where that came from. But Yu-Gi-Oh! And Flesh and Blood, I think they are literally in the exact same category. From what I'm aware, I'm not 100%. I don't know much about Yu-Gi-Oh! Guys, so bear with me. But I don't think there's block rotations. Same thing with Flesh and Blood. There are no block rotations. So immediately, as a new player who wants to get into the game, I'm checked out. I almost don't even want to get into it. Now, Flesh and Blood is a little bit easier, I think, to get into than Yu-Gi-Oh! Is because it's just a newer game. That's it. it's not complicated. It's a newer game. There are 20 years less cards to buy, right? You don't have to catch up on 20 years, but you do have to catch up on 5 years now. Flesh and Blood has celebrated its 5th year. For those who are not aware, I do have another YouTube channel dedicated to Flesh and Blood, but lately I've been kind of backing off the channel because of reasons I'll talk about at a future time I don't want to discuss in this video. I have some issues with the game. I have some issues with the long-term health of the game, and that's not to say that it's not doing bad, or that's not to say it's doing bad. That's not to say that I'm giving up on it. I still, guys, I can't. A new deck was just released, or well, it's been spoiled. It will be released at the end of the month called Jarl, and I cannot wait to pick that up. So don't misunderstand where I'm coming from there, but I do have some issues that I want to cover in a Flesh and Blood video at a later time. But I'm actually surprised it's as high as it is, guys. I'm being dead serious. It's a good game, but when the buy-in entry price to get in to buy the staples, I'm not going to get into it here. Okay, now let's move on. I had to keep that as politically correct as possible. Sorcery. A newer game coming out. It's using more of a tactical land-based. It's almost like a checkerboard. Well, I don't want to say checkerboard in particular, but there's a board setup for this TCG where you actually have tiles you can move across, like on a chessboard or a checkerboard, and that's where your cards go. Sorcery is interesting, but I think they're trying. I think that's going to be a very niche game. I don't know how big that game will ever be. We'll have to see in the future. Then they had, I think this game's called Keyforge. I've actually never messed with this. Same thing with Shadowverse, Universes, and Union Arena. I can't speak to any of these, but I don't see any of these popping into this B-tier conversation anytime soon. That's just me. I don't know. You guys tell me what y'all think about those in the comment section below. I'm not saying they're bad games, by the way. I just don't see the draw. I don't see the appeal to them. Then down here on the D tier, I have never even heard of Alestrals, so that one... My hands are up in the air right now, guys. I have no idea about that one. Weiss Schwarz, I've heard good things about this. I think it's more for the collectors than anything now, and it's like a super complicated game. Or again, I'm not really too sure. Grand Archive, I actually really like this game, but there were some early... there were signs early on that caused some discouragement, if that's even a word, if that's even how you say that, where it kind of scared people off early on when cards like Dungeon Guide were already jumping into the $40, $50 range. And the same thing with some of the legendaries in that game, or the uniques, or whatever you're going to call them, like the Grand Crusaders ring hopping up the $50 range. It's like, guys, this game is literally not even a year old, or maybe it was just around a year old, and it's already starting to see cards in the $40, $50 range. And we're not talking about alt arts, guys. I'm not talking about... Alt arts can always go for however much they need to go for. I'm talking about, like, the lowest rarity. And they are working to correct that. Let me say that right now, guys. They are working to correct that. But another thing that I saw... Maybe I'll make a video on Grand Archive later, guys, talking about some concerns that I saw with this game for their future. Because I watched some type of Grand Archive... I don't know if it was Nationals or Worlds that just happened, where... It was like one of those turn 1 or 2 wins going on or something. And I don't know if the guy high rolled or what, but I saw it. I was like, wait, so it's just over? I was very confused. You guys help me out in the comment section below if you know what I'm talking about. And then Final Fantasy. How sad. I absolutely loved Final Fantasy growing up. Where are all the Final Fantasy Tactics players out there? Please give a shout out in the comment section below. That was easily my favorite game growing up, guys. And I was not someone who loved Final Fantasy VII as much as everyone else did. I thought it was still a fine game. But, like, for me, it was Final Fantasy VIII. You know, with the Guardian system, that game was cool. I really liked that game for some reason. A lot of people didn't. But Final Fantasy Tactics, I'm sorry, that's the best Final Fantasy ever for me personally. Okay, if you disagree, that's fine, but you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously. All right, so let's go ahead and hop out of here. Let's wrap it up here and go into the future of One Piece. So again, looking at what we see here, I want there to be 2 takeaways from the very top 3. Games in what we're seeing from this guy's local results, from local sales. Okay, guys, and the 3 I want to look at is, of course, Magic, Pokemon, and One Piece. Now we're going to hop over, and again, please check out this guy's video if you get a chance. It looks like he put a lot of work into this, and it came out really well. So let's talk about something real quick when it comes to block rotations, and I think this has a lot to do with a game's future longevity, with the future success for the game. So check this out, guys. If you just go to Google and if you type this in, how do block rotations work in Magic the Gathering? I know how they work, but I wanted to bring up an example so you guys could read it and really process it. Because not everyone's an auditory learner, right? Some people are more visual learners. So check this out, guys. In Magic the Gathering, the standard format rotates out the 4 oldest sets each year after the fall set pre-release. How it works. 4 new sets are released each year. Sound familiar, guys? That's pretty much every TCG, right? There might be some exceptions to that, but pretty much every TCG, every 3 months, you get a new set, okay? One Piece is the same way. Magic was the same way. I don't know if it is anymore, but that's how it was then, and that's probably how it still is now. Okay, so let me go back. So 4 new sets are released each year, roughly every quarter. The oldest sets rotate out when the September set is released. Now, that part comes down to whenever Bandai would want to do it. It could start in January for One Piece. It could start whenever. Okay, why it happens. So check this out. The rotation keeps the format fresh and exciting. The rotated sets are then used more in Pioneer, Modern, and Commander. So it does so much for the game, guys. Number one, it keeps the standard format fresh. And number two, it opens up future game formats for like a legacy style of game where it's like, oh yeah, let's play, let's have a tournament where we can use all the cards in the game, right? Whereas like for standard, it's very important. And I'm going to try to break that down in today's video. That's very interesting. I'm actually reading this right here. I don't know if you can see where my head is. Let me scroll down a little bit. Magic standard format will move to a 3-year rotation cycle in the future. Is probably what that says. Rotation cycle in the fall, it says. Okay, so sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked, guys. I do like that better, a 3-year rotation block. I think that's actually very good. Now, let me explain why I think blocks are very important, and I want you guys to tell me what y'all think in the comment section below, but let's please keep an open mind, and let's really consider how important block rotations could potentially be for the future health of this game. We're going to go back to this for just a second here. I think when it comes to someone tell me in the comment section, is Pokemon also block rotation? Because I think it is. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not. I'm just going to type it in. How do block rotations work, or are there block rotations? Let's do this right now together, guys. We're doing this all, you know, everybody's doing this at the same time. Are block rotations in Pokemon? Oops. I can't type it all. Again, guys, I keep my microphone like right here, so it's hard. So yes, Pokemon trading card game, TCG standard format rotations are based on blocks, not sets. Excellent. So, I mean, again, someone correct me if I just did this quick thing and it's not accurate. Maybe I'm misunderstanding like some kind of nuance. But again, I'm pretty sure, from what I've been told and from what I understand, Pokemon and Magic both have block rotations. And I think that is extremely important for a game's health. And I don't think there's only one way to do that. Like, let me explain a thing real quick, guys. I don't think there's only one way to do block rotations. I like the idea of like every 3 years, you have a block. And then after that, whenever, like, say the 4th year comes out, the first year of cards gets moved into Legacy, or it gets moved into Pioneer, or whatever they would call it. They could call it whatever they want to, right? The old generation or something. They could call it whatever they want to. But long story short, let me try to focus back in. I know I'm all over the place, guys. I know this is a little bit clumsy, but bear with me. I'm trying to get a lot of thoughts out right now. I think that block rotations are extremely important for a game's future health. Number one, consider new players. If I'm a new player to One Piece in 10 years, let's assume the game makes it that long. We don't know if the game's going to make it that long. I think most of us think it will make it that long, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Let's assume that the game makes it for 10 years. Well, if I'm a brand new player in 10 years, like say I turned 20 years old in 10 years, right? And I'm like, I want to get into a TCG. Let's try this One Piece game. I heard it's doing well. I'd really like to get into it. And maybe they really like One Piece, right? Okay. Well, wait, so if the game is 10 years old, you're saying I have to make up for 10 years of cards missing? You know, like I have to make up for all these 10 years worth of cards that are in the format? That's number one. It is very, very overwhelming to new players. That's number one. Number two, consider how power creep is in this game. Whenever it comes to power creep in games, it is inevitable. Let's be honest, guys. If there was no power creep, then you would just use the cards that were the strongest already. There has to be an incremental, small amount of power creep every set, or why would you even buy the new set? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, hopefully that made sense. I'm not saying that's a perfect translation. Bear with me. Again, we're just trying to brainstorm. We're trying to think outside the box. We're theory crafting right now. But every single new set that comes out, it must have something powerful or new or interesting to mess around with, or else it just won't be compelling and people won't buy it. People won't mess with it. It's like, well, like, you know, why would I get this if none of the cards can help out, you know, any of the current modern set decks, like whatever the best decks are in the format. So that's number two, right? So number one is it helps out new players when blocks are in the game. Number two is, like I just said, it actually helps with what was I saying? It was about balance, right? Like with power creep, it helps with power creep. So if you're the designer, basically what you can do let's just say every year, you can kind of start doing a hard reset as certain cards trickle out of the format because they're no longer in the standard current modern block, whatever the current block is. So that's actually very important for maintaining a balance in the game. And then third, last but not least, it's actually very, very good for the developers because let's just say, I'm just giving an example here. Let's just say that the designers of One Piece, let's say they actually don't like how cost reduction works in the game, and maybe it's just too powerful. I'm not saying it is. This is just a hypothetical. And let's say they don't like that anymore. Well, guess what? Starting in set, let's just say in block 3. It's starting in block number 3 or block 4. Maybe they stop printing cost reduction on black cards. Again, don't look too much into the example. It's just meant to show how developers can use that to actually kind of like retroactively fix mistakes they didn't intend to be in the game. So that's something that I think they should really, really consider for One Piece. Now, what do you guys think about block rotations? I've heard some people say stuff like, yeah, but if I lose access to all my old cards, then I don't want to play the game anymore. And that is an understandable standpoint. Like, that is very understandable for people to have that thought. But understand this, too. Even in Magic the Gathering, where there is block rotations, that doesn't mean all your old cards will be worthless. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is they will reprint staples. Like, for example, let's just say Borsalino. Borsalino is like one of those cards. Let me bring out Borsalino real quick, guys. This is a card that I think is actually just incredible. It's just like a timeless, good blocker card for Navy for the color black. It's this card right here. This is in Japanese, guys, but notice it does have the English translation right next to it. Hopefully everybody knows what this card does by now. But this card is actually timeless. I think it's a staple. And guess what? In the future, like let's say they do implement the block system, because guys, we're going to talk about the block system in just a moment. Don't worry. If they implement a block system, and all of a sudden, or block rotations, let me say that. If they implement a block rotation in the future of One Piece, they can just reprint this card in a future block. It's really not that hard to do. Like, for example, I think in Magic the Gathering, there are some cards that have been around forever. Like Cancel, it was Terror for a long time. Now I think it's Doomblade. I could be wrong. So, yeah, don't butcher me in the comment section, guys. It's been a long time since I played Magic. But the point is, they will reprint cards that are timeless, right? Like this kind of 4 cost 5K Navy card for black with blocker. This is a timeless card as far as I'm concerned. So guess what? For the older players who are scared that their cards will lose value over time, they might lose a little bit of value over time, but maybe not necessarily, because in the future they might print out a new Borsalino card that is like a new art, right? So in other words, if you're a collector and you have the original OP02 art for Borsalino, or the alt art, the original alt art for it, all of a sudden your card starts getting value in a whole nother way. Cards that will not be reprinted. However, the card's still being reprinted. You see what I'm saying? The actual base card is being reprinted so new players can pick it up and have fun with it, but old players have the OG artwork. And all of a sudden, that starts collecting, value as well for the old collector or new collectors trying to get into the game. So I think it's actually a good thing for everyone. So now, for people who are thinking, Bandai will never do that, right? For people who are thinking One Piece will never do that, I would not be so sure about that, guys. We're going to bring up the official rule manual version 1.11 right here. And notice this right here that I'm highlighting right at the edge of my, where my head is. There is a block icon that has already been implemented in the game. It's been in the game since they started. It was, let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, yeah, I can zoom in. Check this out, guys. Notice this little devil fruit here. I've mentioned this before. A lot of people already know about this. But every single year of this game, there is a devil, or excuse me, how do I say, let me try to unpack this a little better for you guys. At the bottom right of every single card, of all of, like, let's go back to the Borsalino we were just looking at. Notice at the very bottom right here, even on this card, it won't let me zoom in very well. Whoa, there we go. So right above my head, you see it, guys, over here, right above my head? This has a 1, right? Every single card that has been put into One Piece so far has a block number at the bottom right card. All of them have it. Every single card has it. And here's how it's been done in this game. In the game of One Piece, every 4 sets, remember guys, remember what we were saying earlier, every 3 months is a set. Sorry guys, I messed that up. Every 3 months we have 1 set. So 4 sets are in 1 year. Well, guess what? OP02 is going to have a devil fruit with the number 1 in it representing the first year. Like, let's go to an OP04 card. Let's go to Sabo. I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Sabo is a card from OP04. I know it's kind of small down here, guys, but hopefully you can see that. It's from OP04. So, therefore, it has a 1 in the Devil Fruit, okay? Because this is part of the very first year of the game's release, okay? Now, let's go to OP05. What's a good card from OP05? Let's go to Rebecca. Okay, let's go to the OP05 Rebecca blocker that everyone loves so much. I know everybody absolutely loves this card. No one dislikes it, not one person. I'm just kidding. But guys, check this out. Down here in the bottom right, oh, OP05 has a little 2 down there. Okay, well, maybe that's because this is from the second year of the game. Now, we are in OP09 now, right, guys? So we're on the Japanese site, so we can actually look at the OP09 cards, even though they're in Japanese. Whoops, there's no Rebecca. Let me just go to, we'll just look up the red cards just to bring them up. Check this out, guys. Let's look at this really cool Shanks Altart. And look at this, down the bottom right. Again, I'm sorry if you guys can't see it, but there's a number 3. So let me just make sure everyone's aware up front. We don't know what Bandai will do when it comes to block rotations, if they will even implement it. They have made a fail-safe in case they choose to implement it, and I hope they do, by the way. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. They have made a fail-safe in case they choose to implement a block rotation system in the future, and I hope they do that, okay? But they may not. We don't know yet. We have absolutely no idea. That's just there just in case things get out of control, I think. So, with that in mind, let me say this, guys. I'm going to tell you right now that personally, I hope there is a block rotation in the future, so that way we can do a multitude of things. And it's kind of, I'm just kind of summarizing now everything that we've already been talking about in this topic of the day section. Number one, if they implement a block system, and here's how, let me tell you how I want them to, how I prefer they do it. I think after 3 years. So in other words, that would be 3 sets. So that'd be, you know, there's block 1, there's block 2, and block 3 already. Now block 3 is still being hashed out, right? Because it will be 9, 10, 11, 12, right? 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So it'll be 9, 10, 11, and 12 will be block 3 for the first 3 years of the game. However you want to say that. I hope that after 3. I hope what they do at that point is make it where when the new set comes out, once 4 has been complete, like once we get into the 4th year of the game and we have all 4 sets going, then I hope they start cutting it from there on. Where it's like you have 3 sets in at a time and you're actually pushing into 4 sets, 4 entire years worth of cards, and then eventually it knocks down to where it's always just under 4 years of cards. Hopefully that made sense, guys. This is very hard to explain. I hope I'm making sense. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate in the comment section to ask down in the comment section below. So again, what I hope they do is on a 3-year block cycle, they start working to pushing out the block before it. When they get to the 4th year where there's 4 entire years of cards, whoop, they cut out the block before to where you always have 3 years of cards working in a 4, and then it always goes back to 3 every single time. Again, I know that was clumsy and I hope it made sense. But here's why I hope they do that. Number one is for the new players. New players are going to come into your game, and it will, I think this is a direct reflection of how games with blocks and block rotations, I think this is actually saying quite a bit. That it just so happens that these oldest games, other than Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is technically doing the worst in sales out of the big 3 right now, out of Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh!, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is clearly doing the worst as far as sales go at a lot of stores. Maybe not at your store. I'm sure there are some exceptions. And I'm not saying they're doing bad at a tournament level, but I'm saying when it comes to the growth of the game, I think block rotations are the absolute most important thing for the future health and future growth of a game. So I do hope One Piece implements a block system for that reason. For the second reason, it helps deal with power creep and with issues like that, right? With power creep issues and balance reasons, it is so important. And then third, last but not least, is it actually will implement new, new game modes into the game of One Piece. It will no longer just be standard. Like, hey, if you're at a locals, they might have every now and then they'll have a legacy night where, hey, you get to play with any cards in the game. You still have to stick to the normal rules, but you're not stuck to the standard block restriction of only being able to play cards from there. You know what I mean? So that's I'm going to wrap it up now, guys, because I know I'm just kind of rambling right now, but I think this is a very important topic, and I want to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Let's please keep it civil, because I've heard some people are like absolutely against block rotations, and I understand that, but at the same time, really, let's try to think outside the box. Let's try to be critical about it. Because I think block rotations are actually a very good thing for any TCG, not just One Piece, for any TCG going forward. Okay? All right, guys. Again, y'all tell me what y'all think about that in the comment section below. Now, we've got one more thing we have to cover. We have a game of Eustace Kid. Okay, green ST02, Eustace Kid. Let me go out of full screen here. Give me just a moment. Go full screen here. We'll take off the topic of the day box here. And we're playing against a purple-yellow pudding. Guys, this leader, we'll talk about it here as we get into it. Here we go. Okay, volume is off. Speed is on 2x. And here we go. This is a good example of power creep entering the game. This is a supernova leader. Excuse me, I think it's just, I think this card, or this leader, is just strictly worse than Joribani. And I don't mean that in any kind of, you know, biased way or anything. I don't even like, green is just like my least favorite color. But guys, this is such a different era that's being represented with this leader compared to what we're in now. Like, the way Joribani could have just tapped down a Sanji there, or tapped down the leader, or whatever in this situation. Like, I wouldn't have to swing for 7, obviously. I'd swing for 6, leave a Dawn open. Things have changed a lot. And again, yet another reason. I'm not trying to, you know, beat a dead horse, or however that expression goes. But guys, power creep is a real thing, and block rotations really help designers and developers fix issues that came up over time. They can retroactively fix them. As a card gets rotated out of the format, they can print a new card just like it that's a little bit toned down so that it's actually more fair. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to swing in for... I play out the Cavendish, attach the 2 remaining Dawn from getting the 2 active from the Cavendish effect to my leader. I'm going to swing for 7. They 2k, 1k out. They get out of it. Okay, so they're a little bit scared of taking life right now, which I understand. But at the same time, what are they trying to do to win this game? Sometimes you have to aggressively take life, guys. Sometimes you do have to aggressively take hits so that you can try to, you know, get some kind of advantage, some kind of edge in another way. So they're going to swing for 6. We'll gladly get out of that with the 2k. We have plenty of cards in hand. We actually have plenty of counter power. And here we go, guys. Look at my top end. I've got a Hody Jones, I've got a Eustace Kid, and a Doflamingo. This is a rough spot to be in. So here we go. We're going to swing 6 into 5 here, unresting, or setting 2 of my Dawn as active with the Cavendish's effect. Very, very important here. Let's see what happens. This will determine how I go about the rest of my turn. If they let this card go, okay, they did not. If they let it go, that would have changed everything. So let me pause real quick. If they had let the card go right then, I probably would have played out a Rosinante and then swung 8 into this 7k body and not cared about the result as long as the Sanji was gone. But I had to make sure that one of these cards goes away. I just couldn't risk it. You guys... how do I say this, Pause? I really wanted to clear their entire board, but it would have been really nice if I could have established a blocker. But I didn't want to take any chances there, and that's why I kind of did things the way I did. Remember, you have to swing 6 into 5 at first anyway to get the 2 Dawn active with the Cavendish, so then I swung for 6 more, and then for 9. So we cleared up their board. We have full board control, and they are only on 9 Dawn this turn. This was a strange... I think the pudding player might have been a little bit new, or they were trying something very new, because they were kind of messing up a little bit. Let me say that. They were kind of messing up a little bit. Okay, they play out the Katakuri here. They're going to swing in. They're revealing their top two life cards for no reason. They already have 10 Dawn, but now I know there's a beige coming. I can play around that. You have to be so careful with this kind of leader and this kind of effect, guys, because you're kind of just giving your opponent information. Okay, here we go. So we've got 9 Dawn active. We can play out the Eustace Kid, put a Dawn attached to it, swing with the Cavendish, unrest some Dawn. We have so many options here. I probably should have swung for 7 with the Cavendish, and then with the 2 Dawn that was unrested, attach 1 to the leader in that way, but oh well, it's fine. I think we're just going to play out another blocker anyway. So swing 6, swing 5, swing 8, their turn. We know that that's a beige because we knew what the card was, and now we're going to play out another Rosinante. Guys, this is a nightmare situation. I do not expect my opponent to be able to survive this. They play out a beige. I don't know what the idea was there. I think they were just giving up. Because even if they played out the 10 cost, what's her name? Charlotte Linlin, they would not even be able to attack into me this turn because I have an 8 cost 8,000 power Eustace Kid on the board. So they can only swing for 5 and 7 because they had a Katakuri in the leader. So they can't even swing at my leader. They can't even swing, period. It just bounces off the Eustace Kid. And then look what I'll untap with. I'll have 4, technically 5, very strong attacks coming in on the next turn there. And they would only have 2 life. And it looks like the card that they would have drawn from their life, if you look at the top card of their deck, if they had played out the Tin Lin, it would have only been that event. They could have maybe searched up a 2k counter, but it doesn't matter because what I would do in this situation is I would swing... I'd probably swing in a lot with my leader first, so that way I could use the Cavendish. I could stand him back up and then use the Cavendish effect to get extra Dawn from my leader's effect, you know, resting down the 3 Dawn. Whatever the case is, they were in way too much trouble. There was no crawling out of that. Now, I didn't use the leader effect even one time, and that's kind of what we're seeing, I think, as the game goes on, as the game, you know, evolves and gets better and better, and cards get stronger and stronger. Leader effects are becoming, how do I say this? It's getting to the point where if you cannot use your leader effect pretty much every single turn, there are some exceptions, but if you can't use your leader effect pretty much every single turn, then the leader will probably just not pan out to be that good in the end, right? Like, look at the best decks in the format right now. Bonnie can use her leader effect pretty much every turn. Lucci, Black Yellow Luffy, once we get to a certain point, you know, once you get to a certain point with Black Yellow Luffy, you can use the leader effect nonstop, and that builds its own metagame around it, right? Blackbeard in OP09, Shanks in OP09, just, you know, you kind of can just fill in the blank. NL's different, right? Because once you get to the end of the game, you get to use the leader effect for free every turn to get extra life. That's just kind of how it is. That's how the game's evolved. So if you're not getting that extra value every single turn from your leader's effect, you're probably going to struggle. You're probably going to struggle going into the meta. All right, guys, that's about it. Let me go ahead and put up the deck list real quick so we can check that out. I don't even think I have it up. Let me, I think I called this G-Kid Soups Nova. There it is. Okay, let me move the leader out of the way. So this is what we were messing around with today. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of fun. Not saying this deck is great or anything. It was just meant to be a little bit of fun. But hey, Supernova is a very strong package. And remember, guys, Eustace Kid, the leader, is a Supernova. So you can run Cavendish, you can run the Basil Hawkins, and, you know, if you're going to run all that, you might as well run the Bonnie Searcher and just add a bunch of Supernova stuff to the package. This card, Bonnie's been very strong, just like we saw in the game on the lab, or in the lab. Very strong card here. We've got nice one-cost cheap blockers right here. I was messing around with this card a little bit. It was okay. It was okay. And then the 10-cost Doffy, very solid. And, of course, X-Drake is also Supernova, guys. This card is Supernova and Navy. Really nice. And like I said, now the only cards that aren't really Supernova in here are the Doflamingo, the Hody Jones, and I think this event. That might be it, guys. I think the rest are literally all Supernova. Rosinante is not, of course. That's one of the other ones. Rosinante is not Supernova. But that's about it. All right, guys. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments section below. Today was a fun video. Again, pretty spicy topic today. Let's keep it civil down there, guys. Let's not be too aggressive. I really want to know what you guys think about block rotations in TCGs. How good are they? How bad are they? Do you agree with what I was saying? Do you disagree? Again, let's just keep it respectful. And let's see what happens. All right, guys, hope you all enjoyed. All right, now, real quick, shout out to everybody who supports the channel, guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Whether you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing, whatever you're doing, I really appreciate it. Big shout out to everybody over here on the VV Pirates Playmat supporter page. And, of course, I hope you guys are enjoying your playmats. And a huge shout out to everybody on the VV Pirates patron page for just supporting me, trying to keep the dream alive, and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much. All right, I'm done. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please do not hesitate to put them in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, peace.